In today's video, I want to talk about rebuilding emotional safety after years of unintentional neurodiverse communication triggers. Have you ever looked at your spouse and thought, why are we still having the same fight after all these years? You know, you've read books, you've watched videos, you've educated yourself left and right about autism, you've learned about attachment styles, communication styles, and yet somehow, despite understanding all of these things, and you know more now than you ever have before, your relationship still feels fragile. One small misunderstanding, one poorly timed comment, one sensory overload, one disappointed facial expression, and suddenly both of you are back inside the same painful cycle you've repeated hundreds of times. Now, if that sounds familiar, this conversation is for you, because today we're going to talk about something that most relationship advice completely misses. The problem isn't always communication. Sometimes the problem is what happens inside the nervous system before communication even begins. And until couples understand that distinction, they often spend years, even decades, trying to solve the wrong problem. Now, what looks like a communication problem is frequently a physiological regulation problem. What looks like indifference is often overwhelm. What looks like criticism is fear. What looks like withdrawal is protection. What looks like defensiveness is survival. And if we misinterpret survival responses as character flaws, emotional safety slowly disappears from the relationship. Let's talk about how that happens. We're going to look at the invisible wall that gets built over time. Most neurodiverse couples don't wake up one morning emotionally disconnected. No, the disconnection develops gradually, one trigger at a time, one misunderstanding at a time, one painful interaction at a time. A neurotypical spouse reaches for emotional connection. The autistic partner feels unexpectedly overwhelmed. The autistic partner pulls away. The neurotypical partner feels rejected. Then she pursues harder. Now the autistic partner experiences increased pressure. The nervous system of both people become activated. Neither partner intended harm, yet both people end up hurt. Then it happens again and again and again. And years later, both partners are living behind emotional walls they never intended to build. The neurotypical partner becomes afraid of vulnerability. The autistic partner becomes afraid of failure. One becomes hypervigilant for signs of rejection. The other becomes hypervigilant for signs of criticism. Neither feels safe, neither feels understood, and neither feels seen. And eventually, both people begin interacting with the protective wall instead of the person behind it. This is where many couples get stuck. Not because they don't care, not because they're incompatible, but because their nervous systems have learned to anticipate pain. Now let's look at why knowledge alone doesn't heal the relationship. Many couples experience a powerful moment after diagnosis. Suddenly, things start to make sense. Years of confusion receive an explanation finally. Behaviors that once seemed intentional now become neurological. The diagnosis brings relief, but then something surprising happens. Understanding improves, yet conflict remains. Why? Because insight and regulation are not the same thing. Knowing that your ASD partner experiences sensory overload doesn't automatically calm your nervous system when he withdraws. Knowing that your neurotypical spouse experiences rejection sensitivity doesn't automatically stop your body from becoming defensive. Knowledge creates understanding. Regulation creates safety. And safety is what allows understanding to become transformation. Most couples stop at awareness. The next stage is learning how to regulate together. Let's talk about the greatest mistake couples make during conflict. Most couples in a neurodiverse marriage assume conflict should be solved through discussion. Something hurts, you talk about it, you resolve it, problem solved. Okay, well, that approach works when both nervous systems are regulated. It fails when either partner is activated. Because once the nervous system enters a survival state, the brain changes dramatically. Listening decreases, empathy decreases, perspective taking decreases, curiosity decreases, flexibility decreases. The brain becomes focused on protection. And in that moment, your partner is no longer interacting from their best self. They're interacting from their survival system. And so are you. Now, trying to resolve a relationship issue while both nervous systems are activated is like trying to perform surgery during an earthquake. The environment is too unstable. Nothing productive can happen. Yet many couples keep talking anyway. More words, more explanations, more defense, more misunderstandings, more hurt. Let me just explain better. Your attempt at a solution is often counterintuitive. Stop trying to solve the problem and start regulating the nervous system. Let's look at a new rule. Regulation before resolution. One of the most powerful shifts neurodiverse couples can make is adopting a simple principle. Regulation before resolution. Not avoidance, not suppression, not denial, but regulation. This means neither partner is allowed to force a solution while one or both nervous systems remain activated. Instead, the goal becomes helping both partners return to safety. Only then does meaningful problem solving begin. This approach changes everything because the objective is no longer winning, the objective is no longer proving, the objective is no longer convincing. The objective becomes creating conditions where understanding can actually occur. Now let's talk about recognizing early warning signs. Most neurodiverse couples wait too long. They notice the conflict only after emotional flooding has occurred. Too late then, the bullet's already left the gun. You don't want to wait until the nervous system is already overwhelmed. The key is learning to recognize early indicators. For most autistic spouses, warning signs could include difficulty processing language, increased sensory sensitivity, a desire to escape, mental shutdown, physical tension, difficulty finding words. And for most neurotypical partners, warning signs include feeling unseen, escalating anxiety, urgency to resolve the issue immediately, catastrophic thinking, intense emotional activation, fear of abandonment. Neither set of responses is wrong. Both represent nervous systems attempting to create safety. The goal is learning to recognize these signals before they become explosions. Let's talk about replacing shame with neurological literacy. For years, many couples interpret these reactions through a moral lens. You're selfish, you're too sensitive, you're cold, you're dramatic, controlling, lazy, impossible. But what if we're asking the wrong question? Instead of asking, what's wrong with my spouse? We can begin asking, okay, what's happening in my spouse's nervous system right now? That single shift can transform an entire relationship because shame creates defensiveness. Understanding creates curiosity, and curiosity creates connection, and connection creates safety. And when we stop viewing nervous system responses as character defects, compassion becomes possible again. Now let's talk about building a sanctuary instead of a battlefield. Emotionally safe relationships are not relationships without conflict. They're relationships where conflict does not threaten connection. Think about that for a moment. The healthiest couples are not those who never become triggered. The healthiest couples know how to return to safety after activation over and over again. They build predictable rituals, predictable repair, predictable reassurance, predictable regulation. And over time, the nervous system learns something new. This relationship is actually safe. I don't have to defend myself. I don't have to prepare for an attack or expect rejection. That's how emotional safety is rebuilt. Not through one breakthrough conversation, but through hundreds of experiences that gradually teach the nervous system a new reality. Now, let's talk about the power of repair. Many couples believe damage comes from conflict. Research suggests something quite different. Damage often comes from failed repair. Conflict is inevitable. Let's don't worry about that part. Repair is optional, though. Every successful repair teaches the nervous system we can survive this, we can reconnect, we're still on the same team. And over the course of several months, those experiences become powerful. Trust slowly returns, walls slowly lower, fear slowly softens, and what once felt impossible begins to feel natural. Now here's a message for the neurotypical partners watching this. Your longing for connection is not weakness. Your desire to be understood is not excessive. Your hurt matters. Your emotional needs matter. At the same time, many behaviors that have felt personal are actually neurological. That realization doesn't erase your pain, but it may help you stop carrying unnecessary stories about your worth. Now, to the autistic partners watching this, your overwhelm is real. Your shutdown is real, and your sensory experiences are real, and your processing differences are real too. At the same time, though, your NT partner's emotional pain is real. Her need for reassurance is not necessarily criticism. Her desire for conversation is not necessarily an attack. Understanding this can create tremendous healing. Now, if you've spent years trapped in recurring cycles, there's something important I want you to remember. You're not fighting each other nearly as much as you are fighting nervous system patterns that neither of you consciously choose. The goal is not perfection here. The goal is safety. I said the goal is safety. The goal is learning how two very different nervous systems can become allies instead of adversaries. Because emotional safety isn't built when two people stop having triggers or they stop having conflict. It's built when two people learn what to do when those triggers and that conflict appears. And when that happens, something remarkable begins to change. The walls that once protected the relationship from pain become unnecessary. The battlefield becomes a sanctuary, and the relationship finally becomes a place where both people can exhale. Now, if this message resonated with you, leave a comment and tell me which part of the cycle here shows up most often in your relationship. And if you're committed to creating a healthier neurodiverse marriage, subscribe and join us for future conversations about emotional connection, nervous system regulation, and rebuilding trust one interaction at a time. I'll see you in the next video. Would you like to schedule a paid private coaching session? This will be in the form of a face-to-face Zoom call. Underneath any of my videos, you'll see this Calendly link. If you click on that link, it'll open up my calendar. You can pick the available days and times that works for your schedule. You'll get a follow-up email immediately after purchasing a session that will have the Zoom link that coincides with the day and time that you picked. I will get an email too that you scheduled a session, and I will be available on that exact day and time, and we will talk. I look forward to working with you. Hey guys, this is Mark. Some of you may not know that I have a lot of books on Amazon. So if you like my videos, you'll like my books. I have several for ASD spouses, for NT spouses, and for the neurodiverse couple. Underneath any of my videos, you'll see this link. Feel free to click on that link and see what's available. I'm sure you'll find something that applies to you. So if you're struggling in your neurodiverse marriage, help is available one click away.